Hi, I'm Tyrel Reed, and I am humbled to be a Jayhawk.
Hanni and the Hawks is presented by Jefferson's, home of the best wings in town. Always fresh, never frozen. I'll tell you what, here's a pro tip on getting your wings from Jefferson's. Get them double dipped. They've got 21 different signature sauces or dry rubs. So dip them the first time, fry them up, and then come back for that second dipping. They recommend the lemon pepper to finish it off. But 21 different sauces or rubs. It's the double dip delivery of Jefferson's. Wings not your thing. They also hand patty all of their burgers with certified Angus beef. They do a great job with their chicken tenders too. My personal favorite, the crinkle cut fries. Whether you're going there on a game day to check out the Jayhawks or just a family meal out, Jefferson's, a great place to be with two Lawrence locations. Proud presenting sponsor of Hanni and the Hawks.
Welcome into another edition of Hanni and the Hawks presented by Jefferson's. Today recording in our beautiful content studios at the University of Kansas. Why did we pick this spot? Because Tyrel Reed, today's guest, had about a 12-second walk from his office, where he's a physical therapist working with all sports but football here at KU, across the hallway, and maybe 20 paces into the studio. So we thought we'd come to you.
That's perfect.
Edition.
Thank you.
But by doing so, we can't have the awesome wings from Jefferson. So you and your family, your lovely wife, Jessica, dinner on Brandon Graham and me at Jefferson's later tonight. How about that?
That sounds great.
All right.
That sounds great.
Very good. Didn't want to get, wing sauce on the microphone in Travis Goff's studio. So
no doubt.
Anywho, it's great to have you here. And we've been talking about having this conversation for a few weeks now, but in these Hanni and the Hawks interviews, it's our chance to look back on the glory days of your career, but also catch up on the present day. And I'm so proud to get to see a good buddy of mine in Tyrel Reed doing great things, working with our student athletes, what you always wanted to do as a physical therapist, but here at your alma mater. How fulfilling has this been for you?
It's so fulfilling. It's kind of my way now that no longer can I, participate in sports, but I get to give back to all the athletes here at KU. And, I'm blessed to be able to work with so many different sports. We've got, obviously, men's basketball is a huge deal here at Kansas and me playing, but I love working with our rowers, our cheer team. It's just fun to give back to all the Jayhawks.
Absolutely. I remember you telling me 10, 12 years ago this was the dream because you yourself had to rehab through a lot of sports injuries. At what point did this become the dream? And then when did you think, you know what, this is a path that's very attainable and I could do it at the high major conference level, even at a place like Kansas?
Yeah, I had always wanted to be in the medical field. I knew not in what capacity. And then getting into physical therapy, I always thought, me being injured, being around lots of sports injuries, I wanted to be able to give back. And I always wanted to get back to Kansas. So as soon as I graduated from KU Med in 2015, it was like, let's get back to Lawrence and figure out a way to wiggle into the athletic department. And I've slowly been able to do that and just super blessed.
Yeah, we're so glad you're here. Part of what makes Kansas athletics so special right now is that Travis Goff has surrounded himself with so many talented people, but also salt of the earth, really good people.
Yeah.
And you are cut from that cloth. So I'm excited you're in this building. What is it, 4 days a week now you're over here?
Yeah. I'm over here most days every week. And it's been great working with all the sports and just hopefully I don't have too much work. That means all of our athletes are healthy and able to play. So
I can speak firsthand, though, because I was in a car accident, nothing serious, but had a neck injury about, 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah.
And you worked with me out at LMH West to work on my neck. And so firsthand experience, this guy is really good at what he does. Listen, they want to hear us talk basketball. I get it, but we're really proud of this Kansas Jayhawk graduate and what he's doing to pay back to future generations. So I wanted to open there.
Thank you.
Now, let's hop in the DeLorean and go back in time, all the way back to your Burlington High School days, just briefly, because I think sometimes in getting to a player's Kansas story, you have to start with the origin story of when the dream was first planted in your mind to play at a place like KU and then your path to getting here. Burlington High, for 3 years, your dad, Stacy, was your coach. Take me back to those days for Mr. Kansas basketball and the Gatorade State Player of the Year.
Man, I had a great high school experience. I love playing for my dad. Having a father as your coach, you have a unique relationship, I guess you could say. It was one that we were always able to keep basketball and keep father-son, a separate place. And had state championship my freshman year at Burlington, and then we won a lot of games in those next 3 years, and always was a dream to play high level basketball. I didn't know that it was going to be KU. Luckily, I was I had some other options, and KU kind of came in late and was able to go to my dream school.
Man, that's awesome. And this guy was a stud, not just on the basketball court, 26 points per game, but a state title in the long jump, school record in the 400-meter dash. And yet I was reading a Jesse Newell article about how as good as you were in track and field and as great as you were on the basketball court, there was something called the basketball decathlon that your dad put together.
Yeah.
10 one-minute shooting drills, and this was maybe your best gift. Describe this to our viewers here on YouTube TV and Kansas Nation, because they might want to try to emulate this in their own careers.
Yeah, there was a coach in Burlington, and it was basically just a way to kind of evaluate kids on maybe things that they needed to work on as basics of, like right-handed layups for a minute, left-handed layups for a minute, mic and drill, 15-foot shots. And basically your goal was to miss as few of shots as you could over these 10 events. And I don't know, it's one of those things. It was just a great way to compete with your friends. And then, you get the high score. You want to get the highest score next year. And I don't even know what the current record is, but it was a cool thing that we did. And, just basically fundamentals. And it all goes back to that.
Man, I heard you did everything with unbelievable dedication and like early morning 6 a.m. shooting drills every day.
I was lucky because I lived about 400 feet from our high school. So I would get up early in the morning. My dad would go work out. He'd let me in the gym, and I'd go, get shots up and work on my game before school. And I was super blessed to be in a small town where there was really no restrictions on me getting in the gym and putting in the work.
Small town kid, but producing big time hype to the point where Roy Williams at North Carolina is flying back to Kansas to come to one of your games. Bill Self and the Jayhawks get involved as well. We'll talk about the K-State recruiting visit in a second. But what was that like at Burlington High when you were drawing national interest?
It was cool. It was great. I think it was fun when I was in high school. I think surrounding towns would, kind of come to our game and see what coaches were there. Coach Williams flew in, Bob Huggins flew in, just tons of coaches from around the country that were recruiting me at the time. And it was a good height for a small town. And I think our small town hotels got some business from some of the coaches that were flying in to watch me work out in the morning. So that was cool.
But was it always Kansas that was the apple of your eye? Was that deep down the dream? I'd read that in the family household you had the Jay Dreamin' picture.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about, folks. The young man sitting on the front lawn of Allen Fieldhouse looking at the most famous arena in college basketball. Only on the Reed family version, was it you or somebody in your family that took a Sharpie and wrote Tyrel Reed over the kid?
Yeah. My mom came up with that idea, basically. And I signed a picture, I think, to my dad for like his birthday at one point after I'd committed to Kansas. And yeah, I always wanted to be a Jayhawk. I was lucky to have other options. Stanford and North Carolina were like my other two at the very end. And I think Coach Self was like, I knew you were good. I didn't know how good. So I, was kind of on the fence. Should we offer him? Should we not offer him? He's like, you just kind of wore me down to where I was like, I've got to offer this kid. And then he's like, I think it worked out. So
it did. A national championship ring later.
Yeah,
it most certainly did. And the winningest Jayhawk ever in a 4-year career. Sorry, Mitch Lightfoot.
Sorry, Mitch, my bad.
132 wins later. It absolutely worked out. But along the way to picking Kansas over Carolina and Stanford, K-State was involved too. And I had to ask you about this because it's a legendary recruiting trip story. And I don't think you meant anything malicious about it. It wasn't premeditated.
Right.
But maybe you heard Tyrel showed up to his K-State official visit rocking a Kirk Heinrich Chicago Bulls jersey. Some fans would say that was a savage move. You just happen to be a Heinrich fan.
No doubt.
And I understand you just didn't think about it heading in?
Yeah, I don't really know what I was thinking. Yeah, growing up a Kansas kid, I watched Kansas basketball, and Kirk Heinrich always my favorite player to watch. Loved how he played, and always wanted to emulate his style. And I got a Kirk Heinrich jersey for Christmas one year. Was so pumped about it, and then we went on a visit, and I don't know what got in my head, but that was probably a bad choice to wear in hindsight, but ended up going to Kansas, so it all worked out. I probably didn't gain any Wildcat fans that day.
Did anybody on the K-State staff say anything?
No, it was funny. Frank Martin picked me up from the hotel we were staying at. He didn't say anything in the whole ride over there. Meeting with Bob Huggins that day, and on my visit was with Jacob Pullen, Mike Beasley, all of the great K-State players that I got to play with in that era. But hey, it all worked out. It was kind of a little backhanded. I guess you know where I'm going to end up.
Absolutely. And to be clear, it was a Bulls jersey. It's not like you wore a Kansas jersey into Manhattan.
That's right.
But pretty cool story.
Yeah.
And he winds up a Jayhawk. I love it. We're chatting with Tyrel Reed today on Hanni and the Hawks, presented by Jefferson's. And such a great, storied high school career, but ultimately you pick Kansas. And then the dream of being a national champion at Kansas happens right out the gates, your very first year. Take me back to 07-08, and obviously your role on that team was still small at that point because you had Mario and Sharon and Russell Robinson and all these guys, Brandon Rush. But did you know they had the championship DNA early on the heels of a Elite Eight run the year before? What did you find yourself getting into that first year, and when did you think, this could be a truly special team?
Yeah, I knew we had a chance, obviously, with the year before. They had all the great, seniors we had coming back, and just the age that we had. We don't have that as much in college basketball now. I was one of the, few freshmen coming in. I was just trying to almost fit in with a great group that was already assembled. Early on, I knew we were going to be great because it was just my job to fit in. It wasn't like I was going to go make plays or do anything crazy. I was fortunate my freshman year. Unfortunately for Brandon Rush, he was coming off of an ACL injury that year. So those first 7 to 10 games of the year, I was getting, 10, 15 minutes a game until he came back. And it was great to be part of the team early until he kind of established himself. And, it was the one year that I don't think in practice there was very many mistakes that were made. The practices were short because there wasn't much that these guys were making mistakes. If it was mistakes, it was us freshmen making the mistakes, not the guys playing. So I knew we had all the pieces to be great that year, and thankfully Mario hit a big shot at the end to get us over the hump.
Man, did he ever. What was the chemistry like on that team? Because if you go back and look at it and look at the geographic map where Bill Self was pulling all the way from Tomsk, Russia, Sasha Khan, to Anchorage, Alaska, Mario Chalmers, although really he was from everywhere. You had Russell Robinson from the New York neck of the woods. Obviously, D Block was a Oklahoma City guy, B Rush from Kansas City. But you had players from all over. Darrell Arthur from Texas, all kinds of backgrounds. Your good buddy, who's become one of your best friends, was from Minnesota, Cole Aldrich. And then there was this kid from Burlington, Kansas. How did you guys fit together from so many different walks of life and parts of the world?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what's great about sports, right? We all come from different backgrounds, different geographical locations, different, just households growing up, different, coaching styles. But I don't know, it just fit. It was super simple. The guys were super embracing to me when I came in. I was lucky being from the area. I had come up and played pickup basketball with the teams, even, my junior, senior year of high school. So I kind of knew some of the guys already. So it was pretty easy for me to just kind of get in where I fit in. And, it was just so unique that we were senior-led that year and had a lot of upperclassmen that they already knew how to do things the right way, and it was just our job to kind of continue that tradition.
Sharon Collins had that inner-city Chicago edge to him, so you had a lot of guys with some unique backgrounds. What was the common denominator, though? Was it the Bill Self staple of toughness? Was it the veteran experience you're talking about? If there was one kind of central, I don't want to say theme of the team, but one kind of rallying cry that brought all these different talents together to march to the beat of this Bill Self drummer, what was it?
That's a good question. I mean, I think all year we were just so consistent and we had so much depth that we just knew that, we had each other's back no matter what. I think that was the biggest thing, that if this guy's not playing well right now, this guy's going to step in and do his job. So we knew that we all needed to play at our highest level because there was a guy behind us that was going to step in and take our minutes if you weren't. But at the same time, everyone was cheering for one another. Everybody wanted to see people succeed. And when you have a team like that succeed at that high of a level, I mean, I think that year we had 6 guys that were maybe drafted. So it just goes to show you that collectively having success is good for everybody, not just the guys up top.
And Coach Self told you guys that often, right?
Oh,
that
no
if
doubt.
we claim the ultimate team prize, I remember the quote was the slice of pie will be big enough for everybody to go around.
And it was, and it is, and that's to this day, winning it with Christian and Ochai, it's just one of those that who knows if we wouldn't have won it that year, where they would have all ended up in the draft or in the NBA. And, by winning something so big, it just goes to show, lots of people that these are guys that we want on our organization at the next level.
One final question from that championship season and team. Obviously, we all remember Mario's miracle. We all remember the big game versus North Carolina that preceded it. What was your personal favorite memory, or maybe one that you reflect upon the most when you think back to that team, that season, that run?
Probably the one that just sticks out in my mind. This is all of those other ones are super important. North Carolina, Memphis, but the game that Brandon Rush came back from, we played Arizona at home. We weren't playing real well. It was Brandon's first game back from his ACL. I played a lot in the first half. Brandon was on a minutes restriction, and then he comes back, and I think he had a minutes restriction. I think you can go back and ask Coach Self. I don't think he held him to that minutes restriction. He probably played much above that, but just having somebody like that step in that game and just fit in immediately, it just goes to show you that team was just meant to play with each other.
Yeah, no kidding. Absolutely. Great memories. Well, we've got plenty more to get to with Tyrel Reed, including the rest of his Kansas career, but also the modern-day Jayhawks that he works with on a daily basis. We won't talk about their rehab and the PT stuff that you do, but a chance to see this program up close, to compare and contrast younger Bill Self versus the first ballot Hall of Famer now in the 23rd year of his career. I want to talk to you about all of the above. So stay tuned. More coming up with Tyrel Reed, the winningest Jayhawk ever, on Hanni and the Hawks. Welcome back to Hanni and the Hawks. Today recorded from inside the fantastic studios here at the University of Kansas. We got to get you downtown on Mass Street, though, to the Kansas Nation headquarters. It's pretty sweet.
No doubt.
But we did this because Tyrel, as I said in our first segment, is working across the hall as a physical therapist with KU Athletics, and I want to talk to you about working with the modern-day Jayhawks here in a bit. But to go back to your playing days, which culminated in 2011, and some great teams you were on even after that title team, including the Morris twins and several other big-time talented names that I'm sure you'll bring up. Let's just talk about Bill Self in general, though, before we talk about those teams. The coach he was then, you helped get him to his first Final Four and his first title. I remember prior to that, we talked to Sasha Khan about this on a previous episode, for a while there, he was the best young coach that hadn't been to a Final Four. And then he gets that monkey off his back in 2008 with the win over Davidson, ends up winning the title the same year. And then all the while, you're building a juggernaut that ultimately would win 14 consecutive Big 12 conference championships. What was it like playing, I hate to say young Bill Self, but in the early Self era like you were, when he had this thing up and rolling and it was just a top 5 year in, year out, picked atop the Big 12 juggernaut? I say that as if it isn't now, because it still is. But you know what I mean? That was the early days. What was he like then?
Intense. He was, unbelievably demanding, but in the best type of way. He helped us to all develop thick skin, the where that you could take criticism, but at the same time, he knew that you were, or that you knew that he loved you, even though that he might be critical of how you're playing or your effort. But he was so good at reeling you back in. As soon as he had broken you down, he'd build you right back up. And I was, I've been fortunate to have played for him and seen, his progression through his coaching career. And he's still able to do the same thing. It's certainly different now in the age of NIL and, players kind of coming and going a little bit more. He's still the same great coach. He's just had to make some adjustments.
I don't want to get too deep or philosophical here, but how did that help you become the man you are today in terms of being coachable, taking constructive criticism, but knowing at the end of the day, this guy's got my best interest in mind? And is there any of that, not in the PT world, but in the husband and father world in your life where you're pulling from how Bill Self molded you?
Definitely. I certainly think that that's all coaches want to do, is not only prepare you on the court, but prepare you in life. And he's one of the best at doing that. I think, he's had so many, former players go on to do great things. He's got doctors, he's got people in the NBA. Myself being back here at KU, he's done a great job of just developing young men. And I'm so thankful that he was able to do that. And I certainly understand that when I was a freshman, I was not good at taking his criticism. I took it as personal, and there's no reason to take it as personal, but I just wanted to be perfect on every play. And once I kind of understood that, basketball is an imperfect game, but attitude, effort, the things that you can be consistent with, that's what he cares about. And, the shots seemed to fall a lot easier when I was older than when I was younger.
When did that click for you?
Probably into my junior year. My sophomore year, I was able to play a lot more. We were a young team. We had, Marcus, Markeith, Tyshawn, all freshmen, and coming off a national championship, it was just a bunch of young kids just trying to figure it out. So I think we were all trying to figure it out that year. But by junior year, I'd kind of figured out how to take his criticism, that he was just wanting the best for the team, and it was much easier for me to swallow getting yelled at or getting maybe cussed out a few times.
Is it true with most guys, though, by the time you weather that storm, you figure out his style, and you continue to build upon your rapport and respect, by the time you're a senior, not that he coaches you different, but he's probably not on you as much as 3 years earlier?
Definitely. You've kind of been broken down, and then you're built back up. So it's hard maybe on some of these guys that are only here a year to sometimes get accustomed to his coaching style. But then you've got others, somebody like Trey White. It's the first year here, and guy is just doing this, all year. So he's great at figuring out how to press the right buttons and get guys playing the right way.
You mentioned some great players that you played with in your career, and we don't have time to dive through every season chronologically, but that first year after the title, your sophomore season, it was kind of Sharon and Cole Aldrich en route to a Sweet 16 run, and Cole, of course, had the first official triple-double in the NCAA tournament, which was pretty cool for a Bloomington, Minnesota native to do that in Minneapolis. That was pretty sweet. He's become a lifelong friend of yours, I know. So definitely include Cole in this answer. But walk me through 4 or 5 of these Kansas legends that you had a chance to play with in your time, because whether it's the Morris twins, Xavier, Tyshawn, you played with a lot of big-time Kansas Jayhawk icons.
Yeah, I was fortunate. We were, everyone says, the winningest Jayhawk. Well, mainly is because I played with so many good players. It wasn't me. I was just maybe this small little part of it that was able to help Kansas basketball out a little bit.
So humble.
I was fortunate, like you said. I had great teammates between Sharon and Cole, my sophomore year, those guys being the budding stars that, just bloomed into unbelievable legends here, and, NBA players after that, to the Morris twins, who sometimes get a bad rap, but they were the best teammates a guy could ever have. They were the kind of teammates you want on your side no matter what, on a basketball game, a street fight. They're the guys that are just going to back you 100%. I still talk to them this day, and so proud of the men they've become. And now they're doing big things on ESPN, and it's just so fun to watch them grow up.
Did they ever have to have your back in a street fight?
Thankfully, no. But I certainly would have picked those two. And there was a couple times I think I tried to fight them in practice, and thankfully I had guys like Brady Morningstar that would back me to try and take those guys down, but that wasn't going to happen.
When I think of that era, I think I've blocked out you and I in 2010 and Ali Farouk and all that. But I think of the Elite Eight run of 2011. And yes, there's some heartbreak when you think back to that because it seemed like the path was opening up and another Final Four was going to come. But I think about Brady having a big game versus Richmond. I think about you guys being on the doorstep of, giving Bill Self at that point what would have been his second Final Four. He'd get it the next year.
Yeah.
But obviously Shaka Smart and VCU got in the way. But that was your senior season. It was a team that obviously was a Big 12 champion and had a lot of success. What are some of your memories of that year when you started 37 of 38 games and averaged just under 10 a game?
Yeah, it was an amazing season. We had all the pieces for sure to go on a big run, and obviously, unfortunately, the way it ended. But so thankful for that season and that group of guys. Lots of great memories from that year between, not being a positive memory, but that was the year that, T. Rob lost his grandmother, his grandfather, his mother, all in a span of, 3 weeks. And I think it just shows how tight of a team we were that year, that not only did we care about each other on the court, we cared about each other in life. And, it's the worst thing to think about. My college career kind of had all the highs and lows. I was able to see a national championship, a Sweet 16, an Elite 8, a loss in the round of 32. So I kind of have a little bit of all the heartbreak and all the joy. And unfortunately, my senior year, we wanted it to be a lot more joy than heartbreak, but it is what it is. And still super thankful for all the fun times I had that season.
It's amazing because an Elite Eight run at any other school with maybe 3 exceptions would be like the pinnacle. And oh my gosh, but when you started on top of the basketball mountain as a national championship, I'm sure there was some heartache. Listening to you talk about T-Rob and Tyshawn and the Morris twins and all these guys, it's an unfair question, and I didn't prep you for it, but I'm inspired to ask if you had to come up with an all-time Tyrel Reed era team.
Oh, man.
Who would be the 5? And as you think about that, and I buy you some time here, we had Hawk Talk just last night, and Coach Self was asked by a listener for his all-time 5 versus the Roy Williams all-time 5. And he came up very quickly with lists for both. But he looked at overall like NBA ceiling and all that. And he had Joel Embiid, Andrew Wiggins. He put both Sharon and Frank on the team, but said one might have to come off the bench. And then he said Darren Peterson and I think Josh Jackson was in the mix, again, as a projectable type guy, top 4 pick in the draft. I've now stalled for 45 seconds, so you could come up with a 5-man list here. But starting with that title team your freshman year through 2011, who would be the ultimate Reed-era starting 5?
That's such a good question. I was fortunate. You'll have to go back and quote me. I think I played with like 14 NBA players in 4 years. So to have 14 pros in the span of 4 years, it's so hard to come up with a all-time starting 5. But I think if starting at center, I'm going to have to go with Cole Aldrich, my roommate. I mean, I don't think he'd get you a bucket anytime you needed it. Great defender, great rebounder. At the 4, man, this is hard. I'm going to have to go with Tyrel Arthur, just because I think, Markeith might kill me for that. But Shady was an unbelievable athlete, maybe the best athlete I ever played with, could run forever, could jump out of the gym, and was just, I think, got 20 and 10 in a national title game. So that's pretty good. At the 3, I'm definitely going with Marcus. I think he showed it, obviously, at Kansas, and then in the NBA, just one of the best wings we've had. For a shooting guard, man, that's the position that is so hard for me to fill. I'm gonna go with, because I'm gonna slide him into that spot. I'm gonna go with Mario Chalmers there, just as a guy that I know is gonna hit a big shot no matter what, and is unbelievable under pressure. And then I think you can throw it out there between Frank and Sharon, who's the best to ever be under Coach Self as a point guard. I played with Sharon, so I'm gonna throw Sharon at 1.
Okay, for those of you scoring at home, of his 5 players, 4 are in the rafters in the south end zone of Allen Fieldhouse as all-time greats. And the only reason that Tyrel Arthur isn't, he played 2 years here.
Yeah.
But maybe that gets fixed at some point.
There you go. Who knows?
What a list. And you left some good guys on the I don't want to say cutting room floor, but on the first off the bench category.
Yeah, I'll probably catch some hate from some former teammates for that, but
it's an impossible question.
Yeah, I play with so many great ones. That was what I was so lucky that every day at practice was probably going to be harder than the game we played the next night. That was kind of the mindset we had, that no matter who we're going to play, we already had our game the day before. So let's just go out there and compete.
What a great quote that is right there. He's Tyrel Reed. This is Hanni and the Hawks, brought to you by Jefferson's. When we come back, we'll wrap it up with some fun stuff. Our fast break, as we like to do with our basketball guests. That's straight ahead here on Kansas Nation. Tyrel Reed, Hanni and the Hawks. Welcome back to Hanni and the Hawks, brought to you by Jefferson's. Wrapping it up today with our good buddy Tyrel Reed. So proud of him. Now a physical therapist with the University of Kansas and working 4 days a week over here with Kansas Athletics. Before we close it down with our fast break, final 4 questions, just a quick take on the modern-day Jayhawks, how proud you are of the way this team has come together. And, again, we won't talk about your role as a PT guy, because that's HIPAA or whatever. No,
yeah, there you go.
No Darren Peterson hamstring talk here. but what's it like working with these guys on a daily basis, and how excited are you about this particular group?
It's great. I think we've got an unbelievable group of kids. Everyone was asking me, how do you think this team's going to be? And I was like, I think Kansas Jayhawk fans are going to love this team. Maybe like coaches said, maybe like teams of the past, this is a team that has unbelievable athletes, unbelievable kids, probably the best player in the country. And I think the sky's the limit. And I think our team's just kind of doing this right now. We're getting better and better and better each week. And just so excited to see what they're going to do in the rest of the year.
You notice any difference in Bill Self year 23 compared to year 5 or 6?
Yeah, I think there is differences. Certainly he's older now. He still has, a huge amount of energy and enthusiasm for the game. I think he still loves to coach. He loves to teach. And I think he's in that stage of just being an adaptable coach, because things are changing every single year. And I think that's what makes him great, is he's going to figure this thing out. He's going to figure out the new age of recruiting and NIL, and he's done a great job navigating it thus far.
You were probably a little young to appreciate Jacques Vaughn's playing career at Kansas, but certainly you knew about his legend and you watched him in the NBA, probably collected his cards.
Sure.
What's it been like working around JV?
Oh, JV's great. I think he brings a completely different perspective to the coaching staff, being in the NBA for so many years as a player and as a coach. His basketball mind is fabulous. I've seen him on the court with a lot of our guys, working them out with Darren and some of our other guys. And, he just runs such a good workout. And I think the skill development that these guys are showing, a huge plus is having Coach Vaughn around.
Very good. All right. We always close it down with 4 quick ones. We call it our fast break when it's a basketball guest. 2-minute drill if you were a football player.
Okay.
That's what Stuckey got. He's going to come up in a second here, your brother-in-law. But first off, your best friend, your roommate, a guy that you're still so close with to this day, one of our favorite Jayhawks, Cole Aldrich. Do you have any great Cole Aldrich stories? Maybe he left his removable front teeth out on the kitchen counter too often, or I don't know. What's your best Cole Aldrich story?
Yeah, just a big, goofy, fun teammate that was an unbelievable basketball player. Definitely, once he got his tooth knocked out, he kept leaving his retainer with that nasty tooth hanging around our room. It'd be on the counter in our bathroom where I'm trying to brush my teeth, and it seemed like that thing would just pop up everywhere. So, he was an unbelievable roommate to have, and so proud of his career and his family now, and but a fun guy to be with.
And I hear back in the day, driving through campus, he had the subwoofer on his car cranked.
Oh, yeah.
6'11" guy. What was he driving back then?
I think it was a Ford Explorer back then, and he had the big subs in the back, and his car used to drive by shaking, basically his windows looked like they were going to fall out every time he drove around. So I don't know if he still has that car. He should get it. He should get another one, though.
Man, such a great guy. All right. Question number 2. Now that you're working as a physical therapist at KU, I said we wouldn't talk specifics, but I do want to know, I'm curious, who's the toughest student athlete that you've worked with? Because you were tough, man. You fought through all kinds of ankle injuries, all that. When it comes to rehab and an injury and just pain threshold, Toughness.
Man, I've had so many. I think there's some unheralded athletes that maybe don't get talked about as much, whether they're in, rowing or track and field. And I really don't know if I can give a single one, but I want to give a shout out just to all of our student athletes. And I know what a grind it is being a student athlete, not only in the classroom, but on the court or in the pool. And I'm just so proud of the way they handle themselves. And, it's a pleasure for me to get to work with them every day. And I always tell them my biggest thing is I want to see them succeed. I get the most pleasure from them being healthy and doing what they love. And it's my pleasure to get them back out there.
You're clearly very fulfilled in what you do from 9 to 5, but it sounds like your biggest passion now is you're a 6-year-old basketball coach.
Yeah.
Roman Reed, son of Tyrel and Jessica, and he's a teammate of Brendan Bouchard's son as well. So the next question in our fast break is, how much fun are you having as a dad, but also as a youth basketball coach?
Oh, it's great. I don't know how long my coaching career is going to last. Maybe 6 years old, that might be the pinnacle of it. But it's fun. Brendan was my teammate. Now his son, Mac, my son, Roman, they're playing on a kindergarten basketball team. And it's just so much fun to watch these kids have fun. And I remember being that age and, definitely memories making with my son and friends that I'll have for a lifetime.
You ever drop some Bill Self plays like run chop with these 6-year-olds?
Right now we've got wristbands on that have a red wristband, and we're trying to find the other team's red wristband. So there's not a plays that we're drawing up. We're just I tell them, my goal every year is that you have fun and you want to play the next year. So that's my 2 goals.
Great goals. Well, another guy that loves coaching youth sports is coaching youth flag football, and that's your brother-in-law, Tyrel Stuckey. And we're going to close with this. I asked him in our debut episode of Hanni and the Hawks what it's like having you as his brother-in-law. And, man, first off, he just gushed about how much he loves you. But then he started talking about sports prowess, because I asked him who would acclimate better, Tyrel stepping into a football opportunity at Kansas or Tyrel Stuckey trying to play basketball for Bill Self. And he thought you'd be a great receiver. He thought he could be a lockdown defender. And he really spoke well on both of your behalves. But then he had to go out and say, but did you hear about the time I beat Tyrel and Lacey, his wife, your sister, in a 3-point contest in San Diego? Is this true? Can we confirm this? He said it was outdoors at a park, so was this even on a regulation goal?
I think you said it right there, because he played football right at Kansas, played football for the Chargers, and I think he had a lot of concussions through the years. So I think he just forgot, because Daryl definitely didn't beat me in a 3-point competition. I can tell you that.
Completely made that up.
Yeah, that has to be made up. I'm sure that was just that was probably a head injury he had at some time. But no, Daryl is I'm so fortunate to have him as a brother-in-law, and all of his lovely kids and my nieces and nephews. I'm so thankful to have him in our family. And he was an unbelievable football player, unbelievable Kansan and Jayhawk. And I don't know who would have been better in football or basketball, me or him, but certainly just an unbelievable guy, and I love him to death.
Do you agree with his positional, awarding you to the Kansas receiving corps, his designation of you as what would you be, 6'4", kind of a Kerry Meyer type guy?
I don't know. I think if I played football, I played until I was a freshman in high school. I loved football. I think if I was going to ever be successful, I probably would have just been a quarterback. Yeah. I think I had enough size and could throw the ball a little bit that I would have been a decent quarterback. And he certainly would have been a good defender. I don't know if he would have been a knockdown shooter on the court, but I think he had all the intangibles and all the athleticism to be a good defender.
Lockdown on the perimeter.
No doubt. A safety in football, he's definitely gonna take on their best player and not give him any points.
Absolutely, man. Well, you guys are one of my favorite KU athletics families of all time, including your lovely wife, Lacey, longtime, of course, KU basketball manager. Well, Tyrel, one of the all-time great guys. Appreciate you, brother.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for all you continue to do for your alma mater, the way you represent us so well. We had a lot of fun today.
I appreciate it, and thanks for all you do for KU as well.
Thank you, buddy. He's Tyrel Reed, the winningest Jayhawk of all time, 132-17, and still helping the Jayhawks get victories all these years later. This has been Hanni and the Hawks on Kansas Nation, brought to you by Jefferson's.